Okay, so good morning, everyone. I really enjoyed the session so far. It started off really well. I'm a gladiator. I'm not a marketeer, so I do want to clarify on that. But I do think that I can probably provide some perspective on what it takes to provide product and marketing services across a large geographical structure. From my perspective, I do believe that Mauritius does have the marketing ability to be successful within the region and beyond. We're not perfect, and I think we've captured already on a number of the areas of improvement or areas of focus. But I hope the speech is informative for you. I'm going to share with you a little bit around how we operate in our business model, our sales model across the region. What are the challenges that we experience? How we overcome that? And just share with you some of the best practices and some of the talent that we've actually exported as an organisation of Mauritians moving out of Mauritius into a wider, larger world. So just to set the scene for you, you may or may not be aware, Microsoft was established in 1998. It was directly in line with the fact that the government of Mauritius put in place a Copyright Act, and it provided us a great opportunity to move into the region. We operate, as Diane mentioned, across Microsoft Indian Ocean Islands and French Pacific. So we look after 7 countries based in the Indian Ocean. So Mauritius, Réunion, Madakomo, Mayotte, Djibouti, which is our only mainland African country, and Seychelles. And then we go right as far into the Pacific. So the east coast of Australia, we look after New Caledonia, and then right into the middle of the Pacific, we also look after French Polynesia. I'd say that in terms of our staff, we're approximately 30 people based in Mauritius, and then we have resources in the different islands. But we're largely 50% sales orientated, 30% sales, 20% sort of pre-sales support. The way in which we view the market across the territories is really in 3 segments. First, we have let's call it the consumer channel, or the consumers. Secondly, the small and medium business market segment, and then the large accounts, where we encompass the corporate accounts and then our public sector accounts. The majority of our revenue is driven out of 3 main countries, which is Mauritius, Réunion, and you would expect Madagascar, but it's not. In fact, it's New Caledonia, which is very surprising. We do a great amount of business in New Caledonia, which, as you know, is only a 250,000 population. So it's an interesting setup. You're probably asking yourselves, it was funny sitting here. Apart from the reference to Excel, I was starting to feel a little bit uncomfortable with the references to apples, bananas, blackberries. And I encourage you all to come to the Microsoft office, because I can tell you that Microsoft is becoming cool again. And things are changing with our new CEO on board and whatever. And we're going through a huge business transformation at the moment, and maybe I'll touch on that through the speech. But basically, we're going from being the big dog with 91% market share on PCs to being a small dog in a much bigger world, which is where we represent 12% of software on devices when we think about phones, tablets, and all the different form factors. So it's an interesting world interesting transformations we're going through. Microsoft operates in a pure indirect sales model. No one from Microsoft directly is going to come and see you unless they're coming to see you along with a partner or a reseller. We have various types of resellers, ranging from the mom and pop shop, gadget shop, right through to big, I would say, either cloud providers, large solution integrators providing solutions. It may also be hosters, or even massive retailers. So we have a very, very wide sort of partner ecosystem. We operate with around about 600 partners across the region, around about 200 based in Mauritius that sell our products. So the main responsibility of our team is to drive animation, activation, energy through this channel. And that's really our role. So we market, the way we organize our marketing, through 2 real areas. We have a breadth push and a depth push. On the breadth side, we're pushing towards the consumers and the small and medium business, and on the depth side, we're pushing towards the large accounts, public, private sector. And in each of those segments, we have very, very different types of activities that take place. So, firstly, if we look at the breadth space, we tend to be more of a below-the-line tactics as opposed to above the line. There's various reasons for that. We're not a Samsung, so we're not prepared to pump in loads and loads of money, and we're we're almost, we're detail-orientated around return on investment for our marketing campaigns. So in the breadth segment, we'll be looking at things like in-store activation, merchandising, end customer discounts, retailer salesperson incentives. Social media is obviously key there, but that's how we would tend to operate when we're talking about the small and medium business and the retail segment. From a depth segment, contrasting to breadth, where breadth often we're dealing with unknown customers. In the depth segment, where it's a named, often it's an account list, we're actually addressing customers that we know. We know a lot about them. So here it's going to be targeted emails. We're going to be looking maybe at roadshows or presentations associated to new product launches. We'll be looking at some things like customer immersion experiences, where we invite customers in to really touch the technology, play with it, and really get immersed in that environment. And we think carefully around what's the best approach from an impact perspective. Do we want to go one-to-one, one-to-few, or one-to-many in terms of our approach? The other, I would say, advantage of being part of a very, very large organization is that all of our marketing is very much customer-orientated, but a lot of it is program-based, meaning that we already have programs set up that allow for resellers, partners of the varying different types to earn or gain either rebates in dollar value or marketing co-op funds through the reinvestment, i.e. the more you sell, the more you have in return. And that's typically how we operate, and a lot of our marketing budget is moving more and more towards that type of program-based marketing. So, what are the challenges that we experience? Firstly, you have to imagine with the 9 countries across 11 hours time zone, with only 3 marketing resources based in Mauritius. So, firstly, we have the complexity of working in a multinational environment. The team that I have, which is 30 but only closer to 10 in terms of full-time employees, we're having to operate and achieve the same objectives that the UK subsidiary or the French subsidiary is trying to achieve, with a much leaner structure at a fraction of the number of people. So we have a lot of complexity because the business is pulling us in different directions, and you have many scorecards and different people around the world wanting us to achieve so many different things, which is totally impossible. So problem number 1. The other thing is that we have to look at what's available. So the company will come to us and say, this is the campaign we want to drive in this specific area, and we have to determine, do we want to do this global campaign? Do we want to do something local? Or do we want to blend and do, let's say, a global campaign, taking on board something that's already being pushed down from the big monster as such, and customize that locally? The market in which we are in could not be more different in terms of cultural differences. Mauritians are very different to people in Réunion. We have highest cost of living in New Caledonia compared to some of the lowest cost of living in the world in Madagascar. So, and we have to deal with all of that different context. So it's very different contrast markets all within our territory. Time zone is clearly a big one. 8 o'clock in the morning, 8 a.m. in Mauritius, is 1800 hours the day before in French Polynesia, Tahiti. So we have to also adapt to that, and that's a tough one. Hence, and I think where I'm coming to is hence why the only way that we could be scalable as a business is through driving what we want to do through partners, distributors, etc., etc. Let me just share with you how we sort of operate. So despite all of these challenges, we're able to function relatively well. The first thing is we have a shared pool of resources in Dubai. We have a central marketing operations team based in Dubai that will do a lot of the content creation, content localization. They'll manage the email campaigns for us. They'll manage the websites, and they'll set up telesales teams if required on specific campaigns. We also, from a technical perspective, because that's also one of the limitations of a small team, is often we don't have the technical resources required to land a specific solution, and we have a pool of talents based in a centre of expertise based in Cairo as well. And with all of these resources, collaboration, as we talked about earlier, is key in terms of our success, because what we need to do is we need to build virtual teams. of 5 or such of these different resources across the different areas. The other piece, which will be no surprise to any of you, is that clearly technology plays a huge part in terms of what we do. So the term we use internally is we eat our own dog food. So when we think, and we have some examples of Microsoft already referenced, but and Tommy will be talking about that in the next speech. So CRM plays a big thing. We have from a big data analysis and mining perspective, we can go deep into our known client base, and we'll typically look at how we do that to develop campaigns where we generate specific triggers as to why and when we'll contact a specific client. So CRM is one. The second one is that in the last 2 or 3 years, we acquired a product called Yammer. So Yammer is a social enterprise product, which is basically the Facebook for the enterprise, meaning it's limited within the boundaries of the organization, but that provides a voice to the people. So it's almost overtaking a little bit where we have a solution called SharePoint around collaboration and workflow, but this is sort of overtaking it in terms of employees being able to post their success, their topics, their best practices. You can create groups for a specific initiative, and people are moving more towards Yammer than they are towards email threads. So social enterprise is another one that's big for us. And then the final one we talked about is communication into this wider world. Is we have a product which is called Link, which is again the Skype for the enterprise, which means everything is encrypted, but that allows us to do instant messaging, remote contact, conference calling with all of our partners, irrespective of whether they have our product or not. No surprise, the social media piece is playing a more and more important role in a business that's, frankly, our marketing budgets that we hold locally is decreasing year on year. So we've had success with Facebook, we have LinkedIn, we've started to develop YouTube channels as well, and that's been productive for us, and clearly in a much more cost-effective way. And that's helping us to reach out to some of the green territories, virgin markets for us as well, like, for example, Madagascar has the highest following rate of fans as well when we look at that. So then, I think I've touched on what we sort of do through the partners and our resellers, but it's typically all of the push-pull type of mechanisms. But over and above that, in a technology company where we want to position a new product, the readiness or training aspect of that plays a very important role as well. So now talking about the people and the organization and how we function. So, and this may be useful to some of us. One of the biggest difficulties that we had was the complexity associated with a huge organization. And I think Mohammed touched on this as well in terms of really understanding what you want to achieve. So in an environment we have so many things going on, it was very important for us as a lean team to be able to prioritize. And by prioritizing, we're able to sort of gain more alignment and determine what is it we actually want to achieve. So what we did locally is we developed a set of leading indicators. So we have a set of leading indicators per segment and also for marketing. View those leading indicators as a set of 5, 6, 7 lines, which is not a scorecard but a leading indicator. That leading indicator will allow us to have a view on where we currently stand with regards to the business performance. So it's more of a business health discussion. On a monthly basis, we can track that and we can determine, do we need to make a course correction based on the direction that we're going in. So typically, in marketing, a leading indicator will be what has marketing contributed to our pipeline for business, okay? So how many prospects has marketing pushed into our pipeline to sell within the corporate account segment? The next vital for you would be, of the prospects that marketing have provided, how many of them actually been consumed, been treated, been dealt with by the sales team? Because marketing also has responsibility for that as well. The other piece, because of our transformations of business, is Office 365, which is an offering which might go quite nicely actually with your product, Mohammed, is our cloud offering, our offering from the cloud that provides online SharePoint link with Office on premises. So that's key to it. So we're measuring Office trials. How many people are trialing the product and converting? And then the other key one, which which I think is the most challenging one, is we also have a look at IRR, or initial response rate. So what's the response rate like that we're getting to the various campaigns that we're doing? Because it's all about our ROI at the end of the day. Hence why we opt for some marketing means versus others. My experience and what I've seen, to touch on some of the other comments, is that I think what is lacking is a culture of, I think the word we need to use is candor. There are not enough candid discussions going on in the existing working environment for people to be able to express their ideas, and hence why that needs to happen. The way in which we drive that within Microsoft is that we have a set of core competencies. Well, firstly, we establish commitments at the beginning of a year for a specific resource. They have 5 to 6 commitments that they need to achieve on. That needs to be something that is smart, so specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and with a timescale associated to it. The second thing is that we have a set of core competencies which are specific to the role that the person is in. So by driving the individuals towards these core competencies, we're able to change their behavior, and we're able to set the parameters for what we expect from them. And then overarching, we have a set of values. There would be the sort of the Microsoft values. And there would be things like open and respectful, passion, collaborative, that type of thing. But that also means open and respectful. Actually, the value is actually open and respectful to making others great. Now, making others great can often mean telling them that they're not doing a very good job, with the idea of wanting to make them great. So I think, as we're able to start to mold the individuals that we have into and provide the right environment and expectation settings so that we can drive the individuals with the right mind frame. I'll probably best describe that. So in terms of successes, I can share with you that a couple of names. Gaël Boncion, who's now at Turbo, Hilmi Dilou, Patrick Biari, Marc Israel. So Marc is French, but he's been in Russia for a long time. These individuals have all started with a marketing career with Microsoft locally. Gaël is now responsible for retail across Africa. Hilmi is now in Saudi Arabia. Patrick Biari started his career in Mauritius, went to Dubai, is now in Redmond at the headquarters. And we've seen some great success because there's obvious skill sets that Mauritians have that's very, very attractive in a market like Africa. The bilingual piece is the obvious one. So I feel confident around that. Having said that, when we do like a behavior profiling of a lot of the Mauritian staff, we prefer to call it, we've come out with incredible high numbers of analytical profiles versus the persuaders or the controllers. We've touched on reasons why that may be. It may be the parenting piece, it may be the schooling, and I think that's something we need to continue to challenge in terms of the environment that we're in. So, are Mauritians marketing able? For sure. Can it be done? Yes. People need to, I think we talked about that, but the same word, daring. People need to dare. We've seen success, not just of our employees, but also some of our partners who've adopted a similar philosophy and moved either into Africa or into the rest of our region. And I think that my closing comments is that marketing is a lot more than just advertising and communication. I didn't touch a lot on advertising and communication in terms of how we use marketing. Okay, it's a key part of our strategy. It's the sales and marketing alignment that drives the success of my business. PR plays a very, very important role in the marketing mix. And I've got Ludovic who's here with me today, who's our PR specialist. And ultimately, measuring marketing impact is also a key part of what we want to drive as a business. So I probably went over 10 minutes, I'm sorry. Thanks very much.